The Paranormal Casebook presents The Man Who Met the Anunnaki. Welcome to this episode of the Paranormal Casebook. I'm your host, Corbin, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this journey into the strange and unexplained. Here, we dive deep into tales that defy logic, stories that make you question what you think you know about reality. Some of these accounts are passed down through whispers. Others are listener submissions, and some, like tonight's story, come from people I've met personally. For this episode, I want to share a story I heard at a small gathering not too long ago. It's a tale that stuck with me, not just because of its content, but because of the man who told it. He's someone who doesn't strike you as the type to make things up. We'll just call him Adam. Adam is a former US Army soldier who claims to have had an encounter with beings who called themselves the Anunnaki. If you're familiar with ancient Mesopotamian mythology, that name might ring a bell. The Anunnaki are often described as gods or divine beings in ancient Sumerian texts, but in modern times, they've been linked to theories of extraterrestrial life. What makes Adam's story so compelling isn't just the encounter itself, but the message these beings gave him. A message that, according to Adam, foretold events that have since come true. Tonight, I'll share his story with you as he told it to me. Adam's story begins in Iraq during the early 2000s. He was stationed there as part of a US Army unit. By his own admission, life on deployment was grueling but routine. Days were spent on patrols, securing areas, and dealing with the constant tension of being in a war zone. But one night, while on patrol near an ancient archaeological site, something happened that would change his life forever. Adam's unit had set up a temporary camp near the ruins of what locals said was an ancient temple. The site itself was unremarkable at first glance, just crumbled stone walls and scattered debris. But Adam said there was an energy about the place, a heaviness in the air that he couldn't quite explain. That night, as his comrades slept, Adam was on watch duty. The moon was bright, casting long shadows over the ruins. The desert was eerily quiet, save for the occasional gust of wind. It was during this quiet watch that Adam noticed something strange. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw movement among the ruins. At first, he thought it might be an animal, or maybe even a local wandering too close to their camp. But as he focused on the movement, he realized it wasn't human or animal. It was something else. Emerging from the shadows were three tall, humanoid figures. They were unlike anything Adam had ever seen. Their skin had a faint metallic sheen, and their eyes glowed softly in the moonlight. They wore garments that shimmered, as if woven from light itself. Adam's first instinct was to raise his weapon, but before he could, he was overcome by a strange sensation. It was as if his mind was being flooded with calm, a voice telling him, "Do not fear." The beings didn't speak aloud. Instead, their voices echoed in Adam's mind. They introduced themselves as the Anunnaki, and though their words were in a language he didn't recognize, he understood them perfectly. Adam described the experience as telepathic, as if their thoughts were being directly translated into his own. They told him that humanity was at a critical juncture, a crossroads that would determine the future of the planet. They spoke of events to come, natural disasters, political upheavals, and the unveiling of hidden knowledge that would challenge humanity's understanding of its origins. Adam said the beings emphasized that their return was near and that humanity needed to prepare for what they called the Great Reckoning. Adam said the encounter felt like it lasted hours, though in reality, it was likely only a few minutes. When the beings left, they didn't walk away or disappear into the shadows. Instead, they seemed to dissolve into the air, leaving behind only a faint glow that quickly faded. Adam was left standing there, his weapon lowered, his mind racing. After the Anunnaki vanished into thin air, Adam was left standing in the middle of the ruins, his mind racing. He tried to rationalize what had happened. Was it a hallucination? A vivid dream brought on by exhaustion? But deep down he knew this was no dream. The clarity of the encounter, the telepathic communication, and the vivid details were unlike anything he'd ever experienced. That night at the gathering, as Adam told me his story, I could see the weight of it in his eyes. This wasn't a tale he shared lightly. He'd kept it to himself for years, sharing it only with a select few. And while he's still reserved about it, he swears it happened. In the days and weeks that followed, Adam couldn't shake the memory of the encounter. He replayed their words over and over in his mind. The Anunnaki had spoken of a series of events that would unfold in the coming years. Some of these events were cryptic, but others were disturbingly specific. Adam recalled one prophecy in particular. The Anunnaki warned of a devastating natural disaster that would strike a heavily populated coastal region. They described it as a massive earthquake followed by a tsunami that would cause unimaginable destruction. According to Adam, they even gave a rough timeline: within the next decade. At the time, he didn't know what to make of it. But years later, when the 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami struck, killing over 230,000 people, Adam couldn't help but remember their warning. Another prophecy was about political upheaval. The Anunnaki spoke of a major power in the West facing internal division and strife, a period of instability that would ripple across the globe. Adam couldn't say for sure what they were referring to, but he believes it aligns with the increasing political polarization and unrest we've seen in recent years. One of the most unsettling parts of their message, according to Adam, was about humanity's origins. The Anunnaki claimed that much of what we know about our history is incomplete or deliberately obscured. They hinted at hidden knowledge buried deep within ancient texts and artifacts, knowledge that, if revealed, would challenge everything we think we know about where we come from. Adam told me that this part of the message felt less like a warning and more like an invitation. The Anunnaki seemed to be encouraging humanity to seek out the truth, to dig deeper into our past and uncover the secrets that have been hidden for millennia. They emphasized that this knowledge would be crucial for humanity's survival in the coming years. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Could Adam have made all of this up? Was it just a vivid dream brought on by the stress of war? Or could there be some truth to his story? Here's the thing that sticks with me. Adam isn't the kind of person who seeks attention or embellishes the truth. He's pragmatic, grounded, and by all accounts, deeply reluctant to share this story. And yet, he swears it happened. What's more, some of the events he says the Anunnaki predicted have come true. That's not something you can easily dismiss. But even if you remain skeptical, Adam's story raises some fascinating questions. Could the Anunnaki be real? Are they ancient gods, as described in Sumerian mythology, or extraterrestrial beings who have been watching us for millennia? And if their message is true, what does it mean for humanity's future? For Adam, the encounter has left him with more questions than answers. He spent years researching the Anunnaki, poring over ancient texts and modern theories in an attempt to make sense of what happened that night. But the truth remains elusive. He's come to accept that he may never fully understand the experience, but he's certain of one thing. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't a hallucination. It was real. After his encounter, Adam's life was never the same. He carried the memory of that night like a weight, unsure of what to do with the knowledge he'd been given. For years he kept the story to himself, fearing ridicule or disbelief, but eventually he began to share it with a select few, trusted friends, family members, and more recently, me. The reactions he received were mixed. Some people dismissed his story outright, attributing it to stress, exhaustion, or even an overactive imagination. Others were more open-minded, intrigued by the details and the consistency of his account. But what stood out to me was the emotional toll it took on Adam. He wasn't seeking fame or validation. He was simply trying to make sense of an experience that defied explanation. One of the most compelling aspects of Adam's story is the specificity of the prophecies the Anunnaki shared with him. Some of these predictions have already come to pass, lending a chilling sense of credibility to his account. But what about the prophecies that haven't yet unfolded? Adam shared a few of these with me, and while I'm hesitant to delve too deeply into speculative territory, I think it's worth exploring. According to Adam, the Anunnaki spoke of a time when humanity would face a choice, a crossroads between unity and division. They warned that technological advancements, while incredible, could also lead to humanity's downfall if not used responsibly. They hinted at the discovery of new energy sources, breakthroughs that could revolutionize our world, but also spark conflict if mishandled. And perhaps most intriguingly, they spoke of a moment when humanity would come face to face with its true origins, a revelation that would either unite us or tear us apart. Adam's story raises so many questions. If the Anunnaki are real, what is their true purpose? Are they benevolent watchers, guiding humanity toward a better future? Or are they something else entirely, with motives we can't begin to comprehend? And what about the ancient texts that first mentioned the Anunnaki? Could they hold clues to understanding these beings and their connection to humanity? To dig deeper, I did some research on the Anunnaki and their place in ancient mythology. In Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki are described as gods who descended from the heavens to create and oversee humanity. Some modern theorists like Erich von Daniken believe these accounts are evidence of extraterrestrial contact, suggesting that the Anunnaki were advanced beings who played a role in shaping human civilization. While this theory remains controversial, it's fascinating to consider in the context of Adam's story. For Adam, the encounter has become a defining moment in his life. It's driven him to question everything: his beliefs, his understanding of history, and even his place in the universe. And while he's still searching for answers, he's come to embrace the mystery. He told me that sharing his story has been cathartic, even if it's met with skepticism. In his words, "I'd rather share the truth and be doubted than keep it to myself and wonder what could have been." While we may never have definitive answers, Adam's story reminds us of the importance of keeping an open mind. The universe is vast and mysterious, and there's so much we have yet to understand. Whether you believe in the Anunnaki or not, their story challenges us to think. Adam's story is extraordinary, but it's also deeply personal. For him, the encounter wasn't just a brush with the unknown. It was a transformative experience that changed how he sees the world. He described it to me as a kind of awakening, a moment that forced him to confront questions he'd never considered before. What is humanity's place in the universe? Are we truly alone? And if we're not, what responsibilities do we have as stewards of this planet? One of the most fascinating aspects of Adam's story is the way it bridges the gap between ancient mythology and modern experiences. The Anunnaki have long been a subject of fascination for researchers and theorists, often appearing in ancient texts as gods or advanced beings who interacted with humanity. Adam's encounter suggests that these beings, if they exist, might still be watching us, guiding us, warning us, or perhaps simply observing. But Adam's story also raises a crucial question. Why him? Why would the Anunnaki choose to appear to a soldier on patrol in Iraq? Adam doesn't claim to have the answer, but he believes it might have something to do with the land itself. Iraq, after all, is part of the ancient region of Mesopotamia, often referred to as the cradle of civilization. Could the Anunnaki's appearance be tied to the history and significance of this land? Adam's encounter with the Anunnaki has captivated us for many reasons. It's not just the details of the event itself, the strange beings, the telepathic communication, or the cryptic prophecies, but also the profound effect it's had on him and those who've heard his story. For Adam, the encounter was life-changing. For us, it's a reminder of the unknown forces that might exist just beyond our perception. As we reflect on Adam's experience, it's worth considering what stories like his mean in a broader context. Throughout history, humanity has been drawn to tales of gods, angels, and extraterrestrial visitors. The Anunnaki, in particular, occupy a unique place in this mythology. Described in ancient Sumerian texts as creators or influencers of humanity, they've been a source of fascination for historians, archaeologists, and paranormal enthusiasts alike. But Adam's story isn't just a relic of the past. It's a modern encounter that challenges our understanding of reality. If the Anunnaki are real, what does that mean for our place in the universe? Are they observers, guiding us from afar? Or are they active participants in our development, shaping the course of human history? Adam himself wrestles with these questions every day. He told me that his encounter has given him a sense of both awe and responsibility. He feels a duty to share what he's experienced, even though it's come at a personal cost. Skepticism and ridicule are constant companions for those who speak out about the paranormal. But Adam remains steadfast in his belief that his story has value, not just for him, but for all of us. Another intriguing aspect of Adam's story is the prophecies he was given. While some have come to pass, others remain unfulfilled. Adam believes these unfulfilled prophecies are a call to action, a warning that humanity must heed if we are to avoid disaster. Whether it's environmental stewardship, technological ethics, or global unity, the themes of the Anunnaki's message resonate deeply with the challenges we face today. But there's another layer to this story, one that speaks to the nature of belief itself. Adam's encounter forces us to confront the limits of our understanding and the biases that shape our perceptions. How do we distinguish between reality and illusion, between genuine experience and fabrication? And perhaps more importantly, does it even matter? If Adam's story inspires us to think more deeply about our world and our place in it, then hasn't it served a purpose? As we close this chapter of the Paranormal Casebook, I want to leave you with a thought. The universe is vast, and our knowledge of it is still so limited. Whether or not you believe in the Anunnaki, Adam's story is a reminder of the mysteries that surround us. It challenges us to look beyond the surface, to question what we think we know, and to embrace the unknown with curiosity and courage. Adam's encounter is just one story among countless others, but it's a story that has the power to inspire, to provoke, and to connect us to something greater than ourselves. And in the end, isn't that what the paranormal is all about? Thank you for joining me on this journey into the extraordinary. If Adam's story has resonated with you, or if you have your own encounter with the unexplained, I'd love to hear about it. Send your stories to casebookfiles@gmail.com, and they might just become part of the casebook. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and remember, the casebook is always open.